Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, so welcome everyone to Physics Master Class. So this session is a special session on physics for those who are targeting for JEE and NEET. So in this session, we'll tell you three fundamental things. First, steps to build very strong concepts if you're aiming up to JEE Main or JEE Advanced or NEET exams. The second agenda for this session is how to improve on problem solving skills. And third is how to improve on exam performance. So let's officially launch this session. So thank you everyone for joining this session. I welcome all you to Physics Masterclass. So let me open my whiteboard to give you a live demo of how to study physics. So what is physics? I'm sure you would know. So I will not go into those things since you're already preparing for JEE or NEET. So you would know what is physics. So let's come to the first agenda of this session, steps for concept building. So this is going to be a direct to the point session. So steps for concept building. So I'll give you a demo on how to study physics with an example of projectile motion. Okay. So there's a topic in kinematics chapter of class 11th called projectile motion. So projectile motion are of multiple varieties. We have ground to ground projectile. We have projectile motion up the plane. So projectile motion up the plane. Now, what is the meaning of ground to ground projectile? So, ground to ground projectile is that we are starting from ground and we are again landing back on the ground. Projectile motion up the plane, that means there is an inclined plane making an angle theta with the horizontal, and we are throwing the projectile up the inclined plane at an angle alpha. So, here theta is what? Here theta is angle of inclination, which is the inclination of inclined plane, and alpha is the angle of projection. This is angle of projection. Okay. The third type of projectile motion is projectile down the plane. So right now I'm throwing up the plane, so the trajectory of this projectile would be like this. It could be also down the plane, projectile down the plane. Okay. So now what is the meaning of down the plane? That means I am standing on top of this inclined plane, which has the angle of inclination theta. I am throwing the ball from here, and this ball will land somewhere, let's say at point B. I am throwing with initial speed u and an angle of projection alpha. Then there is one more variety of projectile motion, which is from the top of the tower. From the top of the tower. So as if you're standing on a building, and you're throwing the ball either horizontally, so it will take this this trajectory, or you are throwing the ball up. It could be anything, either you're throwing horizontally or you're throwing at an angle theta with the horizontal. So now how would you study this topic? So that's the session is all about. It's not about going into the depth that what is projectile motion, although there's a vast knowledge behind this, but how to study a concept like this is what this session is on. So first of all, you should be very strong on fundamentals. Okay. Now, if we take example of projectile motion, the fundamental behind this is it's a two-dimension motion. Okay, it's a two-dimension motion. What is the meaning of two-dimension motion? That means there is one x-axis and there is one y-axis. Okay, so that means when I'm throwing the ball at point A and it is landing on point B, there are motion is happening in two dimensions, one along the x and one along the y, and the initial speed with which I am throwing is u, and it is making an angle theta with the horizontal. So it's a two-dimension motion in which motion along x and motion along y are independent. Okay, motion along x and motion along y is independent. That means since my ball is going in x direction also, it is going in y direction also, but x and y are not related. X is independent, y is independent, and the motion is happening in both x and y. Okay, so what I'm talking about here is, first you need to understand the fundamentals behind studying anything. So in physics, if you are in any, so let me know the class of everyone. So those who have joined, please let me know your standards, which class are you in, and so that I can keep the content accordingly. So let's say if you are in even in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, or in drop year, fundamentals in physics such as force, momentum, power, energy, power, energy is basically kinetic energy, potential energy, different varieties of energy, surface tension, momentum, and so on should be there. Okay. So if you have to study physics, first fundamentals should be very, very strong. If these fundamentals are not strong, speed, velocity, distance, displacement, acceleration, then understanding the higher level things becomes difficult. Okay. So when you study projectile motion, what is 2D motion, you should be clear about. The second step of mastering the concepts of physics is visualization. Okay. Visualization. So now what is visualization? Here I am showing you projectile motion on my whiteboard, but I can show you projectile motion as a cannonball. Okay. So projectile motion is basically practical thing that we observe. Either you are playing with either gulal or you see a war. So in a war, if India and China are fighting, so both have cannons. So one cannon will get fired from Indian border and another cannon will fired from Chinese border. Okay. So how to make use of animations like this? So right now what I'm choosing, in order to have the projectile motion being conducted, I have to choose my initial speed. I have to choose the initial angle. Okay, so what I've chosen here is 18 meters per second is my initial speed, and initial an angle of projection is 60 degrees. So let me fire the ball and let's see where it reaches. Wow, interesting. So it starts from here, it lands here. So this motion is a projectile motion. Okay. Now what I can do, I can change. Let's say I'm reducing my initial speed to 8 meters per second. Okay. And let's see where it reaches. It reaches only up till here. Okay. Let me put it 12 and let me change the angle now. So let me change the angle 45 degree. So let's see where it reaches. Yes, it reaches the target. So the target is 15 meters. Okay, the second step is visualization. So whether you're studying physics, chemistry, maths, or bio, this works for all the three subjects, although the session is targeted towards physics, because in this we take examples of physics fundamentals, but these concepts that I'm telling you are very, very relevant for the other subjects also. Now, step 3 is derivations, or derivations is about going into the depth. So going into the depth. Okay. Now, what derivations you will have to do in projectile motion? You will have to do time of flight. What is going to be the time of flight? What is going to be the maximum height? What is going to be the range of projectile? What is going to be the equation of trajectory of projectile? And all these derivations you have to do for different varieties. So there are different varieties: ground to ground, projectile up the plane, down the plane, top of the tower. So you have to do the derivation of all these varieties. That means you are going into the depth. Let me tell you, a lot of students make mistake. They don't practice the derivations. Okay. So students, where they make mistake in their JEE, they don't practice the derivations because they think just remembering the formula is enough. Lot of students miss out on this visualization also. They study the concept but they're not able to visualize. Okay, so you have to be very conscious that your fundamentals are very strong, visualization is there, derivation or going into the depth of each and everything is there, up the plane, down the plane, and maybe top of the tower. Okay, now what is the step 4? Step 4 is, now it comes your memory. So once you understand everything, once your fundamentals are strong, visualization is there, and once you are going into the depth, then you need to remember also. Memory is also important. Okay, understanding comes first, but then memory is also very important. So remember the outcomes. Now what is the outcome? Time of flight formula, 2u sine theta upon g. Hmax formula, u square sine square theta upon 2g. Range formula, u square sine 2 theta upon g. Equation of trajectory, y is equal to tan theta into x minus gx square upon 2u square cos square theta. Okay. So like this, you need to basically understand the concept. So there are primarily 4 steps: fundamentals, visualization, derivations or going into the depth, and then memory also. Okay. Yes. So these are the four steps that you need to follow, whether you're studying physics, chemistry, maths, bio, any other subject also. Let me tell you, this could be the problem right now. Anyone who is not doing all these four things, anyone who is not doing the derivations, anyone who is not visualizing enough, or anyone who is forgetting the outcomes quickly, is there any issue that you're facing right now out of these four? No, everything is going fine. Yes, very good, very good. Okay. So now let's come to the second agenda of this session. So this is about problem solving. Okay. Remember the outcome. So that's the problem. So now let's look at steps for problem solving. So now we have understood the fundamentals, we have understood the concept, we have understood the projectile motion, or we have understood that we have visualized it also, we have got into the depth, we have done the derivation also, and we remember the outcomes also, but still after that, still after that, we get stuck in problem solving. Okay, why does this happen? Let me give you a live demo on this. So this is a question, this is a big question that I've taken intentionally. The theory, the text is also big, and there are multiple options that we need to solve. So let me give you 3 minutes. So those who are in 11th standard, I'm giving you 3 minutes to solve this question, and those who are in 8, 9, 10, they can just copy the question and then they can look at me how I'm going to give you a demo on this. Okay, so what the question is saying, a ball thrown from the top of a building which is 50-meter high is given an initial velocity of 20 meters per second, straight upwards. On its backward journey, the ball just misses the edge of roof on its way down. Considering the position of projection of the ball as origin and time at A, TA is equal to 0, determine time at which the ball reaches the maximum height, the time at which ball returns to the height from which it was thrown, velocity of the ball at this instant, and velocity and position of the ball at t is equal to 5 seconds. Okay, I'm giving you 3 minutes to solve this question. Please try it once and then look at my steps, what I follow to encounter this question. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's look at it. So what I'm giving you a demo on, I'm giving you a live demo on how to do the problem solving effectively on physics. So the first step of developing very strong problem solving in physics is reading the question. Okay. So a lot of times we make mistake in reading the question. Let me show you how to read a question so that you don't make a mistake in any physics questions going forward. Okay, so how you need to read it? You need to pay attention on each and every word. So how to read it? Let me show you. A ball thrown from the top of a building which is 50-meter high. So what it is given? The height of the building is 50 meters. It is given an initial velocity of 20 meters per second and it is thrown straight upwards. This is not a question on projectile motion. This is a simple question of ball being thrown up. Kinematics 1D question is there. It is not a 2D question. On its backward journey, the ball just misses the edge of the roof on its way down. Considering the position of projection of the ball as origin and time at A, T is equal to 0, determine the time at which the ball reaches the maximum height, the time at which the ball returns to the height from which it was thrown, velocity of the ball at this instant, velocity and position of the ball at T is equal to 5 seconds. Now let me tell you, some students starts this question just by reading the question. They don't make a diagram. Okay, so step 1 of effective problem solving is always make a diagram. Okay, step 1 is make a diagram. If you will not make a diagram, still you can do it. I'm not saying that you cannot do it, but it's a very good practice. When you're learning something for the first time, it's a very good practice to make a diagram. Okay, so what it is saying, a building of height 50 meters. So label the data also. Label the data also. This is point A where the person is standing on the top of the building and it is throwing a ball up with an initial velocity or initial speed of 20 meters per second. Okay, so this data is given to us in the question. Now what will happen, the ball from point A, it will reach to its maximum height. Let's say this point is B. At this maximum height, the velocity of ball will become 0 because it's a maximum height. Maximum height can only come when the final velocity is 0 at the top, otherwise it is not maximum, it can further go up. So at the top its velocity should be 0. And let's say this AB distance is capital H, and then it is falling down. It is falling down on the ground. So let's say this is point C. Okay. Now once we make a diagram, the entire picture of the question gets cleared. So what it is asking, what is given, what is not given, everything becomes clear if we make a diagram properly. So step 1 is make a diagram. Without diagram, don't start the question in physics when you're learning for the first time. In exams, if you are very sure of the diagram, then you can avoid this because it takes some time. But even in exams, initially, if you're in first 6 months or 8 months of JEE or NEET preparation, I recommend always make a diagram, even in exams. But at home, during self-study, always you have to make a diagram. Now let's start with part A, time at which the ball reaches its maximum height. Anyone who is done with this? Any answer from the audience? So part A is time at which it reaches the maximum, height. So what is happening? Initial speed is 20 meters per second and final speed is 0. And also one very important thing in solving such questions is directions. Okay, what you can do, you can assign any direction as positive and the opposite direction becomes negative. What I'm assigning the upward direction as positive, I'm assigning the downward direction as negative. You can even do the reverse. You can even assign the upward direction as negative and you can even assign the downward direction as positive. That's up to you. Okay, but for me, I'm assigning upward positive, downward negative. Okay, so let's understand the motion from A to B. Let's understand the motion from A to B. So in A to B, what is happening? Initial speed is 20 meters per second in the upward direction. That means it is positive. And acceleration is what? G, which is let's say 10 meters per second square, although the correct value is 9.8, but it is in downward direction. From A to B, G is always downwards. We know that. Okay, G is always downwards. So 10 meters per second square in the downward direction. So we have to take acceleration as minus 10 meters per second square. So from A to B, what is happening? Final speed is 0 and an initial speed is 20 in the positive direction. So what we can apply? We can apply V is equal to U plus AT. Okay, we can apply V is equal to U plus AT. Why we can apply this? Because acceleration is constant. This equation can only be applied when acceleration is constant. Again, a lot of students make this mistake. Even when the acceleration is not constant, they end up applying this equation, but then it's not true. Okay, so final is 0, initial is 20 in the positive direction, acceleration is minus 10, time is what we need to find, time AB. So time AB comes out to be 20 upon 10, which is 2 seconds. Okay, so first part is done. Time to reach the maximum height is 2 seconds. The maximum height. Now we need to find the maximum height. So again from A to B, now we will apply another equation of motion, which is V square is equal to U square plus 2AS. Okay, final speed at B is 0 because that's the maximum height point. U is 20 square. Acceleration is in the downward direction and displacement is in the upward direction. So displacement is A to B. This is going to be the direction of displacement. So minus 10 into H. Okay, so H comes out to be 20 into 20 upon 10 into 2, 2AS into 2. So this comes out to be 20 meters. So V square is equal to U square plus 2AS we use for part B and we get the height as 20 meters. Okay. Yes. Okay. Time at which ball returns to the height from which it was thrown. Now what C part is saying us, time at which it comes back to point A. So I'm making the diagram once again to explain you. So this is point A, this is point A, this is point B, which is the maximum height, and this, let's say, is intermediate point, let's say P point, and this is the C point where it hits on the ground. So ball is going from A to B, coming back to P. So from A to P, where A and P are same points, A and P are same points, okay? So from A to P, what is happening? Displacement along y-axis is becoming 0. Displacement along y-axis is written as Sy, it is 0, and displacement along y-axis is nothing but Uy into T plus half Ay into T square. We need to be very careful with the direction. So we are taking upward direction positive, downward direction negative. If we don't assign this positive negative, again we might make mistake, which lot of students sometimes don't do that. Okay, so Sy is 0, Uy initial is 20 in the positive direction, and time A to P minus half into 10 into time A to P whole square. So I can now solve this equation. 20 into time A to P is equal to half into 10 time AP whole square. So what we get? We get time AP as 20 into 2 upon 10, which is 4 seconds. Okay, so part C, the time it takes for the ball to return to the height from which it was thrown is 4 seconds. Okay, velocity of the ball at this instant. So D part, velocity of the ball at this instant, we can safely apply V is equal to U plus 80. Okay, V is equal to U is 20 in the upward direction positive minus 10 into 4. So it is minus 20 meters per second. That means at point P, the velocity is in the downward direction and the magnitude is 20 meters per second. Okay, D is minus 20 meters per second. Velocity and position of the ball at t is equal to 5 seconds. At t is equal to 5 seconds, we need to find the velocity and position of the ball. So we can directly apply Sy is equal to Uy into t plus half Ay into t square with sign. Need to be very careful with the sign. So Sy is equal to 20 into 5 minus half into 10 into 25. Okay, so 5. So 100 minus 125, which is minus 25 meters. So that means the position of the ball after 5 seconds is, let's say, at this Q point, which is 25 meters below, 25 meters below point A, 25 meters below point A. So it's coming out to be minus 25. And what is asked? Velocity also. So velocity at t is equal to 5 seconds is U plus 80, 20 in the positive direction minus 10 into 5. So this is minus 30 meters per second. Okay. So this was just a demo on how to develop strong problem solving in physics. There are primarily 4 steps of solving the question. The first step is reading the question. So what I gave you a demo on, I gave you a demo on how to read the question word by word. If you miss even one word, or if you copy even one wrong data point, the entire question will go wrong. So read the question effectively. Always make a diagram. Okay, then decide on the concept. So once we start to solve this question, what we are doing, step 2, we are applying consciously. Decide on concept. Okay. Then we are doing what? Then we are doing the calculations. And then we are reporting the answer or marking the answer on computer or OMR or whatever. So you can say it's a 4 or 5 step process. So let's say step 1 is reading, step 2 is diagram, step 3 is decide on the concept, step 4 is calculations, or step 5 is reporting. Or you can say it's reading and making the diagram, which is step 1, step 2 is decide on the concept, step 3 is calculations, and step 4 is reporting the answer. Okay. Yes, so let's just recall what we have learned till now. So 4 steps of effective understanding concept building is you need to be very clear on the fundamentals, visualization, derivation or going into the depth is very important, and then you need to remember the outcomes also. For problem solving, you need to follow 4 major steps: read the question effectively, make a diagram, decide the concept, calculations and reporting. So let's do one important question, one more question on this to make you more clear on this point. Giving you 2 minutes to solve this. Okay, so again, let me give you a demo on how to approach this question of physics. So first step is read the question effectively. Read it word by word. A body starts at an initial velocity v naught in a straight line with acceleration as shown below in the graph. Okay, so this is a graph of acceleration versus time. This is a graph of acceleration versus time. Very good. Anish has got the answer. Very good, Anish. Yes. Okay. So what it is given in the question is acceleration versus time graph. Okay. Acceleration is made up of multiple parts here. Right now, from 0 to t naught, acceleration is constant. And then from t naught to 2t naught, acceleration is increasing, reaching to the maximum value of 2a, and then it is decreasing. Okay. Now we know that acceleration is dv upon dt. Okay. That means acceleration is rate of change of velocity, with time. Okay. So what we can do, we can take dt this side. So dv comes out to be a dt, and we can integrate both sides. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of this integration a dt? The meaning of this integration is that this is nothing but area under the acceleration time graph. This is nothing but area under the acceleration time graph, and dt is what? This is nothing but change in velocity. Okay, this is nothing but change in velocity. So what you need to do, you need to just find the area under this graph and make it equal to change in velocity. Okay. Now what happens, let me tell you where a lot of students make mistake on this question. In this question is that they think that from 0 to t naught, since the acceleration is increasing, the velocity will also increase. And then they think that from 2t naught to 4t naught, acceleration is decreasing, so velocity will also decrease. Yes, that's where we make mistake on in this question. No, from entire 0 to 4t naught, our velocity will increase. Why it will increase? Because acceleration is rate of change of velocity with time. Although the rate of change of velocity with time is decreasing from 2t naught to 4t naught, but still velocity will keep on increasing. Okay. So from entire 0 to 4t naught, velocity will keep on increasing, and we will get the maximum velocity when we are at 4t naught, and that is how we need to find this. So change in velocity is v max minus v naught, and area under the acceleration time graph is made up of it's made up of 4 parts here. So first area, second area, third area, let's say 3 areas it is made up of. So area 1 is what? at naught. Then area 2 is made up of again 2 parts, at naught plus half. So it's the so second is made up of 2 geometries, rectangle and triangle. So area of rectangle is base into height, so length into breadth. So t naught into a, plus area of triangle is half base into height, so half into t naught into a, plus then area of the third triangle, which is half 2t naught into 2a. Okay, so change in velocity comes out to be 2a t naught plus a t naught by 2 plus again 2a t naught. So this is nothing but 9 by 2 a t naught. So v max comes out to be v naught plus 9 by 2 a t naught. Okay. Yes. So again, what steps you had to take for solving this question? First, read the question effectively. If you want, you can copy the diagram if you are learning it for the first time. Step 2 is decide the concept. Again, lot of students, where they will make mistake, they will say that till t naught velocity is increasing, after that it is decreasing. No, but that's where the mistake would happen. If you decide the right concept, then it's all about calculations. Sometimes we also make mistake in calculations. Instead of 9 by 2 at naught, let's say we only write 4 at naught. So we might get confused in this, and we might mark this. Okay. Then fourth step is just marking. If you are getting B, just mark it B, and then mark A. Okay. Yes. Are you able to follow? Is it helping you? Any feedback on this? Okay. So this was a demo from my end. You are looking for physics help going forward, then you can make use of my physics course if you're looking for that. Okay, so we conduct physics classes in small batches, and let me just show you my course portal. So we give you access to our online modules, and we also take live classes. If you're looking for physics help from me, if you're in class 11th or 12th or 8th, 9th, 10th, if you want to schedule hourly basis sessions, or if you want to join my 11th batches, then you can feel free to do that. Okay, so this is our YouTube channel, Mindarity. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. And please follow these points, make these points your living experience, that you will always focus on fundamentals. You will always focus on fundamentals. You will always try to visualize. You will always go into the depth, practice derivations, and you will remember the outcomes. For problem solving, always read the question effectively, and then make the diagram. If that is not given, if it is given, copy the diagram, decide on the right concepts, do the calculations, and then mark the right answer. Okay. Yes, Anish, ask. You can speak if you want.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes,
So I
Anish.
wanted to ask this. Suppose I take out 4 hours for problem solving for a
Mm-hmm.
chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, I start doing questions, and um, generally, the first few questions, like 60, 70 questions, are level one questions or easier
Mm-hmm.
questions.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So, most of my time, like 3.5 or 4 hours, get wasted in that. You can say
Mm-hmm.
wasted because I'm generally able to solve most of the questions. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's very less learning in those 4 hours.
Correct.
And by the time I reach level 2, I'm already exhausted, and
Mm-hmm. Okay.
so that's the problem.
Okay. So you are using the word wasted. Let me tell you, it's not wasted. It's important. See, these simple questions is not a waste of time. Let me tell you, if you have to, yes, one second. Yes, you're on. Yes.
Yes, so not actually waste, but yes, it's
Mm,
good for practice, sir, but I'm not able to learn anything new. And when the questions come in exam, they are a bit on a higher level. So
correct. Correct. See, what you can do, there's one strategy for this. The strategy is odd even. If there are 60 sums which are very, very simple and you don't feel like doing it, just select either the odd sums or select all the even sums. So that would be half of it. Okay, so this would save you time. But let me tell you, attitude towards simple sums should not be like this, that it's waste of time. It's a time utilization, because let's say if you have to learn to ride a car, so before learn to driving a car, you need to first understand about what is acceleration, what is accelerator, how brake works, how clutch works, how to shift gear. So what you're doing on this on the that chapter is, let's say, work per energy. You're solving 50 sums. You're just building the basic blocks of the problem solving. If the basic blocks are not there, then solving the tough sums becomes difficult. But if you think it's very, very simple, too simple, no value addition, just select the odd sums out of that or even sums out of that. Try to reduce it to half. If odd is also more, if 30 is also more for you, you can go 1 out of 3 you can solve. Okay. So like this you can manage, and then you can take out more time for the difficult sums.